Okay, welcome back to, this is part two of our single leg series, and last one we looked at regressions. This time we're going to look at progressions. So a simple progression from a bodyweight single leg squat might be to load it up. Before we load it up in its bodyweight version, in its unstable, we might load up a split squat. So we'll have the foot resting on the bench. We know that you can control the range in the bodyweight version, so we're confident that you've got the good ability to do it. So now we'll see how you go with load. And we'll see if there's anything that shows up as a weakness, and that might be where we pause. Now if that looks good, then we're going to do the concentric part of, in the regressions we showed you just going down on the step. This time we're going to come back up. Right, so going down, remember I said on the regressions it's 30% stronger on the eccentric phase. Well, obviously on the concentric you're going to have to work 30% harder. So this is where you might have to reduce the step that you're using. And you're really having to work slowly, and it's a little tap of the ground so the leg in the air doesn't push off. All right, so it's not a step up, it's more of a single leg squat come from a height. All right, so if you can handle that, then we might be able to move to the next phase, which is where we may use the bodyweight version again with a dumbbell. All right, so we'll show, Andy will be up in a second on this one. All right, so now Andy is doing similar to what he did before, but now there's that element of stability where he could fall out to the side left or right. And you see there he's needing to actually, because he's not warmed up enough, you can see he's fighting with the balance. So we didn't see those cracks appear when his foot was on the bench, but now we do. All right, so a much more difficult version, and obviously the load of the dumbbell is the main obvious progression here is just load. All right, so once you can handle a dumbbell version, then we might move to the next thing, which is a barbell. Now you might be thinking, what's the difference between a barbell and a dumbbell? Obviously the load is much more, but the big difference between a barbell is because of the lever that it creates. It can really create extra sideways movement. It's sort of like a seesaw resting on your back. So the load is obviously the hardest part. So this is only 10 kilos on the bar, but the bar is 20 kilos, so that's 30 kilos that he has on his back, whereas Andy was holding a 20 kilo dumbbell. All right, so the load on here is significantly harder. All right, so these are very much strength exercises that have a huge element of stability. Once you can handle strength versions, then you can start to move into things that demand a lot more power and speed. All right, which is what we'll move to next with Andy. So this is where we might be just using a simple step up, and even though it's it has many things that are different to a single leg squat, it does have that element of single leg coming up into power. Now Andy does the classic thing where people take the foot down to create momentum. If you really want to make it hard to leave the foot up on the box. Now the beauty of this is you can also start to add in arm requirements and sort of integrate the movement. So this is where Andy might throw in a bicep curl. So now his brain has to think about extra things. He's got more joints moving. He still has all the strength, power and stability in the leg. And now we could also throw in a shoulder press as well, which then throws into extension. And you can see now that's where a lot more stability is challenged again, as obviously the upper body requirement. So, and all of those could be done with the body weight squat on the ground. So we could continue going, okay, back to the floor and do what Andy was doing then. All right, so. But to give you another example of another different progression, this is where we might use some more like jumping type things. All right, so we might sort of look at, Nathan's going to demonstrate here a body weight. Here we go. He's going to demonstrate like a plyo version, just a simple jump. All right, so this is very important for anyone ACL injuries and knee injuries returning to sport. These are some of the things that you need to do, like a fitness test to pass. So this is where we're really observing his landing. All right, so then he's basically just using his single leg to jump, but it's really the landing we're trying to see. And we're seeing if things like that when he just landed then, you'll see how that knee caved in. That's what he needs to control. So he made a mistake on that one. All right, that's what he's trying to eliminate. All right, but again, like Andy, he's not warmed up, and we're just rushing through this to give you an idea. So we would use that a few times, make sure he's perfect at getting it right. You'll see if he's a bit better at this time. Yep. And then once, let's say he's got that mastered, then we might be able to move into the jumping up onto the box. Now obviously there's a few things in between this that we would do, but this just to give you an idea. that's where he's really taking the strength and his power to another level entirely. So to jump on a box that high from one leg and safely land is not as easy as he makes it look. All right. So, but that's to give you an idea of some progressions, moving from basic stability and strength to advanced strength to then speed, power, and the braking ability to try and execute a single leg squat. All right. So I hope you've enjoyed those progression ideas, and again, if you struggle, you refer to part 1 with the regressions, and then you've got several ideas on how you could sort of break this movement up and become the master of it. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you on our next one.